See how long it takes to get on the old YouTube. It's probably take a long time. Hey y'all, hope you're seeing this. I
Hello.
can't. So wait. It's good to be back in the saddle. So, I still don't see anything. Wow, just take forever. Wow, wow, Bethany. Wow, it's taking
It
forever.
does. I'll get there.
Oh, here we go. Here we go. Oh, hey, you know what? I didn't get a commercial. That's fine. I'm not monetized anyway, so it doesn't matter. Anyway, hello, welcome back to my channel, Miss Damn Jewelry. I'm Dolores, and I have with me
Tacky
Daniel.
is me.
Tacky is me, Mr. Daniel. Hello, Daniel. How we doing?
We are riding out things.
How you feeling today?
We're feeling okay today.
Good, good.
Feeling okay today.
You look a lot better.
I would hope so.
But you never know. I mean, from the day that morning you called me, I was like, oh my God, go to the doctor. You do it, calling me.
Yeah.
Hey, Beth. Okay, let's start saying hi to folks. I see John Robert. John Robert, what is wrong with I need to know what's wrong with the highways in Tennessee. Because now I'm curious as
Well,
to
let's
your
talk
statement.
about a lot of things that's wrong in Tennessee right now.
Well, he was like, yeah,
That's for next week on my channel.
yeah, the swelling did go down, didn't it, John Robert? Hey, Kathy, how you doing? I see Miss Beth. Yes. So Daniel's, I think you feeling a little better there.
I'm really tired, but I took a couple Benadryl last night, and the weather's kind of dreary, so I
Yeah.
don't. I me being tired is just par for course.
It's just, yeah, Daniel.
It's just normal.
Well, I love your outfit. Hey, Christine at Side Street Market. Girl, hey. I'm loving your outfit. I'm loving the glasses matching the top and the beads playing on the black in your outfit. Love it. Yes.
This is a big screw you to things that are going on in the United States right now.
Well, you could probably wear that same outfit for here. Hey, Monica. There's Monica.
My bestie from Italy.
It's great to be back, y'all. It was a long trip. Well, actually, it wasn't. It didn't. It just flew by. Honestly, it flew by. I thought 2 weeks would be long enough. Man, it wasn't. It just like bam, bam, bam. And I'm back now, back in the UK, where last week. Hey, Mike. Last week, you've asked Beth. I was complaining that it was 82 degrees in Houston. I was like, oh my God, it's so hot. Oh my God. I was like, Lord Jesus. And then now it's snowing. It's snowing here in the UK. Yes, we are getting lots of snow. It snowed all day. It's still snowing now. So that's what I get for bitching about 82-degree weather. That's my karma. How's the weather where you are, Daniel?
It's just typical dreary. It's supposed to rain. I think it's 46. But we're not.
Balmy.
We have really been lucky as far as winter weather goes.
Okay.
We haven't had like a whole lot or anything to really complain about. Everybody north of us has, and then all the severe weather's been south. So we're just like stuck in the middle with all the dreary stuff. But there's been some beautiful days that just make you want to have spring here.
Yeah.
I mean, I have buds on my lilac bush.
Mm-hmm.
The flowers next door are blooming. I don't have flowers here because the groundhogs eat them. And yes, the groundhogs are out now. I seen it. I seen Big Bertha the other day.
Not Big Bertha.
Big Bertha's out. I want to run her over so bad.
No one let her cousin didn't tell her that he saw a shadow and she can't come out yet?
And she's out and she's ready to eat.
Didn't get the memo, huh?
Well, they've been chewing on something in the studio because I could hear them.
Oh, it must be something. But
they're trying to come up through the floor, I guess.
There's Send Me Cheetos is my husband, Dave. He said it was too short, Dolo. The weather was great. Can't wait to go back. Yeah, weather was good. It was, we got there and it was cold. Cold. Texas cold, not like real cold. And then, which felt nice. And then each day it got warmer and warmer until it got to like 82, and I was like, I mean, and here's the thing. Here's the thing. I'm not used to it anymore. People go, well, "You're from here." I'm like, "Yeah, I lived here 20 years." It gets above 75, and I'm like, "Oh God, oh my God, I need air conditioning." You know what I mean? Like, which is crazy because that's actually nice, weather. Hey, H. Welch. Oh, be careful driving home. No slaps. Thanks, good. Thank you. I try, but I cannot compete with Daniel over here. I mean, I'm not even gonna try. So there you go.
There's nothing to compete with.
So
this is purely a political statement.
It's pure. I'm looking at you, Tennessee. Anyway, so guys, Dave says you're looking good, and hope you're feeling good.
I'm feeling. The thing is, during that whole whatever it was, I never felt bad.
Yeah.
It's just that it was rash, and then my face went.
We've been talking about, wow, this is what happens when we get too much Botox. Let that be a warning to you all. Just kidding.
I did. I look like, and I've been popping so many pills in the last 3 months that I never have in my whole life.
Yeah.
I told Dolores, I'm like all these movie stars. I'm this pill popping bad Botox person now. That's what I look like.
Well, guys, today we have a very interesting topic. Well, interesting to me because I'm living it, and I will explain it to you in as simple details as I can, because I don't really, I mean, I understand it, but there's like legalities of it that are just like, what? And that's called Brexit. The problem with Brexit. Hey, LaDonna. So, for those who don't know what Brexit is, Brexit was started as a referendum in 2016. The then Prime Minister, David Cameron, who was a Tory or conservative, decided to put up a referendum of whether or not the UK should stay in the European Union. Now, we'd been at that point, I believe we'd been part of the European Union for 47 years. It's a long time. So the thing is, it's like, well, they decided to, for whatever reason, people wanted to, we want to get out of the European Union. I don't understand why, because we had a lot of benefits being in the European Union. Yes, there are dues to pay. There are fees to pay when you are in a situation like the European Union. Everybody pays to them. But because of our national gross profit, we paid more than maybe a smaller country, maybe a lesser country. That's just the way it worked. But so did France. So did Germany. You know, these people the countries who had a great profit would pay more money to be in the to be part of the European Union. Like with any elite club, you're going to pay to be in it. Now, people wanted to, leave the European Union for reasons that I don't understand. Some of the excuse, I'll get to those in a minute, but so there was a vote in 2016, and because of democracy, the vote was 51% to leave the European Union and 48.9% to stay in the European Union. So it was really close. It was a really close call, but obviously in democracy, majority wins. So they decided to leave the European Union. Now, prior to the vote, let's back up a little bit. Prior to the vote, there was a campaign about, leave, remain, stay, remain. Well, remain being stay in the European Union and leave being leave it. So there was a whole idea like we're better together, which I believe is true. You're better with a lot of numbers than just being on your own. And so there was these campaigns about here's why we should leave the European Union. All of it bullshit, all of it. No, they only voted once. They only voted once. They talked about having another referendum after the first one, but they didn't. They were like, right, that's the vote. That's it. Democracy wins. We're leaving the European Union. Now, once we left the European Union, The then Prime Minister, David Cameron, jumped ship. Just quit. I quit. Wait, hang on, sir. You just brought this referendum to the public. We voted to leave. Well, but I didn't. The country voted, the majority was to leave. And now you're going to up and jump ship? Huh. Like a rat. All right, I got you. Sure. Just like the rats jumping in ship on Titanic. He did too. So, and that's when the shit show began of Brexit. Now, let's go back to the campaign prior to the vote. There was a lot of campaigning going on both sides. Stay, leave, blah, blah. Now, the Leave campaign was honestly built on a pack of lies. Absolutely the most and people bought it. That's the thing. People were like sucked in by it. And I'll tell you why in a minute. So, and the campaign was just a bunch of, excuse my French, bullshit. Absolutely lies. So, which was brought to you by the Brexit Party, run by one Nigel Farage, who is a twat. Sorry, I'm gonna call him like I say him. He's a twat. That political party is no longer in business. It doesn't even exist anymore. They got what they wanted. So what do we need it for? They got it. So that was the Brexit Party, which is now inactive. So let's talk about the campaign of the leavers, the people who wanted to leave. Big campaign by the Brexit Party. One of the promises that they made if we left the European Union was that all that money we pay to be in the European Union, our fees, will go to the NHS. All that money we spend, into being part of the single market, will come back to the NHS. What they failed to understand is that there's a divorce bill. You didn't just leave and be like, okay, bye, we're done, pack up stuff, our little bindle's behind us and we're going. No, there's a big divorce bill to pay. We'll probably still be paying that for a while. Wouldn't it be better to pay that bill and get something than not get anything? I'm just saying. So, well, here's the thing. There was double-decker buses wrapped in these political campaigns, NHS to get X amount of money when we leave the European Union. Officially, we left the European Union. It officially came, it voted in 2016. We had until 2020 to leave. So January 31st, 2020, we officially left. That was, 3 years ago? 3 years ago, exactly. Ask me how much money the NHS has gotten. Go ahead, ask.
Hey, Dolores, how much money has the NHS gotten?
Oh, from the fees of the European Union that we saved? That money?
Yeah.
Nothing. Not a dime. Not an absolute dime did they receive. In fact, right now, the NHS is on its knees. The nurses are striking, the doctors are striking because the government will not give them a raise or not give them a raise in line with what inflation is. These people, the NHS, our doctors, our nurses, worked tirelessly through the pandemic. Couldn't go home and see their families because they were stuck in these hospitals with these patients. They couldn't leave. I'll get to that in a minute, Kathy. That's next. That's the next slide they told. These people fought the pandemic, stayed in the hospital, watched patients die every day, probably most likely have PTSD from it. You're not going to give them a raise? You're not going to give them what they deserve? Well, wait a minute, hang on, but you have all this money. No, you don't. That was a lie. Everybody, all the leavers were like, oh yeah, all the people wanted to vote for leave. Yeah, all this money's going to NHS. Haven't seen one dime, 1 cent, 1 pence, if you will. Nothing. So that was a big old lie. So no extra money from Brexit for the NHS. Sorry, guys, you have to find it somewhere else. Now, you could argue that during the pandemic, we were all paid, people who had jobs at companies and work, were all paid 80% of our wages. And the company had to match the other 20. So yeah, they can't figure out what Major Tom and honey. Yes, true. Yes, exactly. They can't. We're not money. Major Tom's a whole different thing, y'all. That's you have to Google it. That'll be a deep dive on one of my other Double D live chats. Yeah, not a red cent, nothing. And they touted this campaign. Oh, it was 50 billion euros, and we are no longer part of the free market. We are paying to the nose to import and export goods, and back and forth. So we'll talk about that too. Prices have nearly doubled. So that was one of the lies they told, because the NHS never received that money, and they probably never will. The other huge lie was that the UK would have better border control from immigration. So basically, we'd be in charge of our own borders, and we would not be at the whim of EU laws regarding, immigration. So lack of humanity, basically. We don't have to adhere to the laws of the EU because we want our own laws. We want to be governed. I'll get to that in a minute. We want to govern ourselves and our own immigration laws. Let me let you on a little secret. You want a little secret, Daniel?
What?
The immigration and all the refugees and immigrants coming over is worse than it has ever been. And I don't mean worse. I mean that they're coming over more now than ever. Huh. Well, where's all this great border control you got? Now, the problem with that is that a lot of them come over from other countries, war-torn countries. They're escaping, regimes that are, tyrannical. They're escaping all these things, and they're coming across Europe, and they end up in France. They end up in Calais. Well, Calais is at the coast, right across the English Channel from where? The UK. So these immigrants are, and the where they're staying in Calais is absolutely horrendous. It's like I don't want to say the word, but it's a camp. It's a horrible camp where they mix adults with children, mothers and children with all kinds of people. Gangs run these places. So you can see why someone would risk their life getting in a small boat trying to cross the English Channel to get to where they feel safe. Now, you'll hear the naysayers. They just want a free ride from the UK. And I'm like, yeah, okay. Well, they're also escaping probably horrendous living conditions in these camps in Calais. So before you start, getting like, well, and I understand there has to be some kind of, we're already paying them, Sandy. We're already paying France to patrol the coast. They don't. They don't. They don't. They're quite happy to let these people get on a tiny boat or not stop them, go into international waters across the English Channel, which, let me tell you what, is not one of the safest places you want to be in a small boat, and possibly drown. Never mind that you're like, I don't want them here. Just the basic humanity to make sure these people don't do that to save their lives. They're not doing it. They're not. And I mean, whether it's because France is mad at us, because of Brexit, whatever, they've got their own internal problems. We have all our own internal problems. We pay them to do that, and it's not being done. So now, so I don't want to get into immigration because that's another deep dive we'll get into. Because I have no problem with people coming and wanting help. Now, I know we're a small, tiny island. We don't have a lot of the infrastructure. Well, now we don't, because guess what? We're not part of the EU. We don't have that infrastructure to help, as many people as wants to come over. But that's a whole nother issue. I don't want to get into immigration right now. We will talk about that at some other point.
Yes, we need to talk about that.
Huh?
Yes, we need to talk about that.
We do, because it's absolutely ridiculous. And to say these people aren't even being considered. So also along with this, so that was another one of the selling points of the Brexit leavers was like, oh, we're going to make sure that we monitor who comes in our country. We're going to make sure that only the people who can allowed to be here who we deem okay to be in this country should be allowed in. What that did was, you can imagine, that brought out the worst of the worst. The worst of the worst of the racists, including a fascist political party called Britain First. They were the most racist. They still are, because I'm sure they still exist. Racist, trying to, just horrible to any immigrant or anybody who wasn't white and British. They put it that way. And that brought them out of the woodwork. And boy, let me tell you, they were everywhere. They were like you could see, well, this back when I was on Facebook. I left Facebook in 2016 for a number of reasons. This was also one of them, because you'd see these ads pop up, and they were awful. And you're like, oh my God, how is this okay? Who's not monitoring Facebook? I mean, what is this on here? And it would come up as a recommendation. I'm like, what? These people clearly don't know me, because I'm the most left person. And so left, I turned the corner. Like, you know what I mean? What's happening? So then hey, Cajun Roots reseller. So that brought out the worst of, like Piers Morgan. Yes, exactly, like Piers Morgan, who's a twat. Sorry, excuse my language. But it brought out the worst of fascist, racist rhetoric. It honestly did. And it was actually scary for a time. And I am an American, and I was kind of like, man, they're gonna get rid of me. You start to worry, because you're like, hey, Jeannie, you're like, they don't want you. It's like, oh, pure British people. What? Excuse me? Sure. Yeah, that's not. I mean, people, and they're talking about people who were born here, whose grandparents happen to be from maybe, the Middle East or India, or they're like, oh, well, then you leave. I'm like, they're British. They're born here. What are you talking about? I mean, it brought out the worst of the worst. This campaign to leave brought out the absolute dregs of humanity. Honestly, it did. And so, yeah. And so then, but it didn't help, because guess what? We're now faced with a situation where all these immigrants are coming over dangerously to the UK. And whether illegally, let's just talk. Yes, you're not supposed to cross over in a boat. You're supposed to come the proper channels. I get that. But when people are looking for safety, they will do it by any means necessary. And if they think they're better off in a boat crossing the English Channel, consider where they came from. Consider what they have witnessed and faced. Again, that's another story. Now, Daniel, ask me what we gained from Brexit.
What lovely things did you gain from exiting?
Absolutely nothing. Thanks for asking. Thanks for playing. I'm sorry. Do you have any questions? I'm just kind of going out. I'm very passionate about this. Sorry if I seem a little heated, y'all. I tend to get like it, and I'm not even British. I just live here. I'm a resident, not even a citizen. But you can, when you're out from the outside looking in, you're like, what are you guys doing? You're like, are you serious right now? I mean, that's kind of how I look at it. But it affects me because I live here.
Yeah. No, I have no questions because I don't know anything about it. I mean, that honestly, you heard about it, but that's
right.
That,
and yeah, you hear about the news. Oh, Brexit happened, and you being in another country in the U.S., you're like, okay, cool, because you don't know a lot about it. And it's because you're not living it. It's not like part of your everyday, thing, or even your everyday vernacular. If someone says Brexit, you just happen to hear on the news. It's not like people are talking about it. Here, we're talking about it. And the problem with why we got nothing. Hey, Angela. Hey, Tally. Why we got nothing is because a lot of EU residents, people who were from other EU countries, worked and lived in the UK. Now, once Brexit happened, well, that changed a lot of things. They were going to now have to pay to get a work permit to work in the UK. They were going to have to fill out, loads of paperwork. It wasn't just like, here's a form, fill it out. It was like, here are these forms, give me your money, and you can stay and work here. And a lot of them thought, no, you're good, I'll go back. Or I'll go work in France, or I'll go work in Germany, I'll go work in Italy, I'll go work somewhere else where I'm able to have free movement and work within these countries. So we lost a lot of skill. We lost a lot of people who work in the service industry. We lost a lot of nurses. We lost a lot of things. Right, Kathy? Yeah, that's what, yeah. You're going to, and here's the problem with losing that skill in that workforce. You're also going to suffer economically because those people spent money here. Those people bought things. Those people put back into the economy. That's gone. It's gone. They're like, well, you know, I can't freely move between UK and mainland Europe. I'll just go back to mainland Europe and work there. Find a job there. I found a job in England. So that is a problem. That's problematic because we lost a lot of economic things with people. Well, and I don't understand why, because they're on the continent, Tally. We're still in the continent of Europe. We're an island. And excuse me. And I just think that, I mean, I always felt a part of Europe, especially when, and here's the thing, before Brexit, I mean, it was different for me because I have an American passport, but it was nothing. I could still travel to Italy, just no problem. I still can now. But people in the UK, there was no visas. There was no, I'm going to go to Italy. I'm going to go to Spain. I'm going to hop on a plane. Here's my passport. But now, oh, no. Now you have to have a visa. They screwed themselves. It's like you screwed yourself. It's like, why would you do that to yourself when everybody had free movement within the EU, being part of the EU? Because we're still technically in Europe. We're on the continent of Europe, but we're just not in the European Union. So the British cannot feel, I don't feel European. Sorry, you're in Europe, so therefore you're European. End of story. Don't care what country you're in. If you're on the continent of Europe, you're part of Europe. That's just the way it is. You know, you don't have to like it, but that's the way it is. So, and let's get to free trade. Free trade. Well, we were in the single market. So, meaning that we could trade freely, meaning I could sell something. Let me just use me as an example. I could sell something on my Etsy into any part of any country that was in the European Union, no problem. Just like I would sell it to someone down the street. Here you go. Thanks. Here you go. I could order stuff from other parts of Europe. Pay the price, pay the shipping. I'm good. I got it. I got some from Spain, Italy, whatever I wanted to get it from. Well, now that we're not part of the single market, the EU, import duties were imposed. So if I sell something to any part of mainland Europe, they will have to pay an import tax. If I order anything from mainland Europe, I will have to pay an import tax. Doesn't matter what it is. Doesn't matter how much it costs. There's going to be an import duty on it. Absolutely. So,
is it high?
Don't get me started about Germany. I mean, I love the Germans, but they have a new program that I have just opted out. I opted out of. I don't even ship to Germany anymore. It depends on the price of what it is. I'm not quite sure. I didn't Google it. How much the import duties are. But they're, well, I mean, let's say you pay a pound. We were paying nothing. So, you know, everybody, and who's getting, you know, so their government's getting their import duties, our government's getting our import duties. So what happened is a lot of companies larger companies than myself, manufacturing companies, which is what I work for. A lot of big companies decided to move, and banks and financial services decided to move to where? Mainland Europe, which meant a lot of business left the UK. So in the businesses that remained, like my business is still here. I mean, the company I work for, whenever they send something to Europe, import duty, send it back, import duty. You do that enough times, that's, your costs start to go up. And that, along with the pandemic and the situation in Ukraine, has made prices of everything go up. Talk your bang on the trouble is Europe. One of the UK are then we needed Europe historically. Okay. Yeah. Well, I mean, we have all defended. I mean, Europe and the UK have defended each other. Let's be clear, especially during World War II, which people here love to harp on. I mean, it was a horrible time. It was an awful thing, but people still like to talk about it like it happened yesterday. And so it made importing and exporting absolutely atrociously expensive, and people were leaving the UK to have their plan. If they were exporting, if all their business was exporting to Europe, why would they stay in the UK? Why? They wouldn't. They would leave and go to another country on mainland Europe. That has a lot of people lost jobs. A lot of places closed down. And we, a long time ago, gave a lot of our manufacturing away to places like China and India. So we were already low on manufacturing. Oh yeah, that's a whole nother deep dive, but I don't want to be like, I don't want to disappear if we talk about that. All the money from the rest of that flowed to England. I don't want to be disappearing. So, it cost us so much. I mean, the cost of even just getting like fruits and vegetables that we would normally get from Spain or Portugal or, Italy. The price is now doubled. And we can't get it. I mean, we can get it, but it's expensive. I mean, yes, we grow our own own fruit here, and we grow our own things here, but we don't grow bananas here. We don't grow watermelons here, I mean, that's a greenhouse, but not on a level where you would sell it to a supermarket. So all these things like that, we were getting no problem. Lettuce, like the different types of vegetables that we didn't grow here, we would get from mainland Europe. That price has gone up. In addition to just the cost of living, again, the pandemic made that happen, and so did the situation in Ukraine. All of these things with Brexit is just crippling us. It's absolutely crippling us with the cost of electricity. People can't just go like they used to and go get the things they wanted. Now they're like they have to be very, very selective and, can't afford things they could get before, which is simple things like fruit and vegetables. I mean, it's ridiculous.
That is sort of happening all around though, because I haven't for a little bit, but I did price comparisons with us and you guys.
Mm-hmm.
And it was amazing that you guys were cheaper.
Right.
I'm still flabbergasted because, as big a country as we are, I know we import a lot of stuff, but we raise a lot of stuff here, and that then our prices were higher, even though we have more people to feed and stuff. I was just amazed by that you guys were still cheaper on a lot of things than us.
Yeah, true. Most big car manufacturers and other businesses are now leaving the UK manufacture on mainland Europe. Yeah, you think the grass is green? Absolutely, absolutely, John Robert. It's daunting to think of and I mean, yeah, some things are cheaper. Like again, we have less people. We can grow a lot of vegetables and stuff, but I'm not going to grow watermelon in my garden. Nope. I mean, it's March, it's snowing, so no, it's not happening. I'm not going to grow. I mean, there's certain apples we can grow here. We can grow tomatoes here, but there's certain tomatoes we can't grow here that come from mainland Europe.
Well, John Robert, that is a whole different subject than what we're talking about. We'll talk about that next week on my channel.
Yeah. So, like I said, getting items from the EU is harder and more expensive. It's just, the thing was.
Oh, let me ask real quick because Dave just got on there. So when you were over here shopping, did it seem like we had higher prices than you guys do? Okay.
It seemed like you had higher prices than I remember. Remember, I hadn't been back in 3 years, but
yeah, it
but
really jumped and has been
yeah, it
continuing to
really
do it.
jumped.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a lot. Even for us who's used to it, it just and it still is going.
Yeah, it's quite expensive. Yeah, we were quite surprised, especially eating out, because obviously we're on holiday, we're eating out a lot. Jesus, it was, and I think a lot of it is because a lot of people don't want to work in the service industry. It's harder to find people who will work there, especially after the pandemic. People are like, I'm not doing that anymore, or whatever. I understand it, I get it, whatever. But I think and then to attract people to work for you, you have to pay them decent wages. You can't get away with just paying them like you just getting tips, because no one's going to work for that. So I think as a result of that, the prices had to go up. See, that's what I was going to say, John Robert. I wondered if the reason why your costs are high because you export a lot of stuff and then buy import. Yeah, I mean, it's just a thing. That's the same. We don't export a lot. I mean, we do export some stuff, but we export more items than food, so to speak. And we, potatoes we can export, but it's just to see it unfold. Um, um, and Brexit has just had a devastating effect on British citizens and British residents and the British economy. Honestly, it honestly has. It's absolutely ridiculous. It's just sorting out a decent trade deal is not enough. See, here's the problem with what's going on in Ukraine. Sorting out a trade deal with the UK right now ain't high on their priority list for good reason. They didn't want to have to do it. Now you have the situation in Ukraine, which they have to keep an eye on. And then you have all the other things going on. And they're like, hey, and even with the US, your president will not do a deal with us until the Northern Ireland Protocol is sorted out. And I'll go into that in a minute. But now we're okay to do individual trade deals with individual states. Like I think we recently, a couple of months ago, or maybe last year, the UK got a trade deal with North Carolina, just the state of North Carolina, not your country, the state, because Biden refuses to make a deal with us until the Northern Ireland Protocol is sorted out. Okay, so he's like, I'm not interested. It's like, why wouldn't you want to do a deal with us? So, they're like, well, because you have to sort your business out. I'm like, well, no one's telling you how to sort your business. Mind your business. We talking about trade deals here. So I'll get into the Northern Ireland Protocol, which I didn't really understand it. So let me break it down for you. The Northern Ireland Protocol of the Brexit Agreement commits the UK and the EU to maintaining an open border in Ireland. You have to remember that Northern Ireland is part of the UK. Republic of Ireland is not part of the UK. That's part of Europe. They're part of the European Union. Okay, so they're one big landmass. So there's never been a hard border between Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland. Never, ever, ever. I mean, in our modern times, there's never been a hard border. So, because it's a landmass, and when we left the EU, there's no border there. So because Republic of Ireland is part of the EU, what do you do about importing and exporting through that channel? What do you do? What do you do? Oh, that's where the Northern Ireland Protocol comes in. So this protocol aims to avoid a hard border between Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland. It is to introduce a green and red lane system to reduce checks and paperwork on goods destined for Northern Ireland and separate them from goods at risk of moving into EU common market. She's talking and yelling on her phone. Yes, girl. Yes, it was an absolute, it was stupidity. Absolutely. These people were conned. And you could see it. I was watching going, you guys are believing this? Like, what do you, there's no way then they just get all that money. There's going to be a divorce bill that we're going to be paying for a lot of money to divorce it. When two people divorce, it's the kids who suffer. I'm just saying. You know what I mean? It's kids who suffer. So, yeah, it was, and then the whole immigration that's built on lies.
So back to the Ireland.
Okay.
Because I'm invested. So have they fixed it?
Ish. It's still in in talks and works. So because they haven't fixed it, Mr. Joe Biden's like, well, don't call us until you get a deal done because we're not going to trade with you until it happens. It's like, wait a minute. We're getting stuff from America that has no way to get through. It's not even coming near Ireland. What are you talking about? But because, he wants to support the Irish people. And I get that. Wonderful. But it has nothing to do with you, sir. That protocol has nothing to do with whether we trade with U.S. or not. But he won't do it until they're until it's sorted out. Exactly. It's crazy how deeply racist people are. It's 100%. It's oof. So it's also to facilitate an unfettered access of Northern Ireland goods to the Great Britain market, and the inclusion of Northern Ireland goods in free trade agreements between the UK and third countries. So Northern Ireland wants to still be able to ship to the EU or ship into the Republic of Ireland, which is right there. So that's part of the future protocol agreement. Now, in the EU single market for goods, England, Wales, and Scotland have left the single EU market. We're done because Brexit. And even though Northern Ireland is in the UK, this protocol allows goods to flow to and from Northern Ireland to the Republic of Ireland, which is technically in the EU. And the rest of the EU, as they did when the UK member of the EU, when the UK was a member of the EU without checks, tariffs, and new paperwork. So what they're trying to do is Northern Ireland wants to be able to trade freely with the Republic of Ireland and the rest of the EU. You're like, well, how is that possible? Because they're where the border is. And taxing between the two parts of Ireland. Yeah, they don't want to do that. And so Northern Ireland is like, hey, we won't put a hard border up if we're allowed to trade between Republic of Ireland and the rest of the EU. But if you jack with us, there will be a hard border, and then there will be taxes between Northern and Republic of Ireland, and and so that's where we're at. So they're trying to come up. Rishi Sunak, our current prime minister, how long that lasts, is trying to sort out a deal. Okay, so so that's the Northern Ireland Protocol, which, if you're confused, so am I. And I tried to explain it as easy as I could. Like, they're trying to put a protocol in place so Northern Ireland can still trade freely with the Republic of Ireland because they're right like this. They're like, it's like Texas and Oklahoma. There's no hard border between Texas and Oklahoma. You can just drive across, right? That's his land. Same with Northern Ireland and Republic of Ireland. And that's the issue. So, but let's talk about today. Let's talk about today's figures, shall we? As it stands, on this date today, 54% of the people who voted for Brexit wish they hadn't. Sorry, what? Excuse me? 54% of the people who voted to leave the EU now regret that decision when polled. Huh. Well, hindsight is 2020, y'all. Yeah. So, yeah.
So can you guys get back in the
Well,
European
that
Union?
question has been asked, and according to the current labor leader, uh, Keir Starmer, and well, I tell you right now, the conservatives would never. They would never. But even the Labor Party representative said it would never. It's unlikely it would happen. Yeah, buyer's remorse. Yeah. I think we should just go. Sorry, love you. Let's back in. But here's the thing. Well, Europe's gonna say a lot of stuff. Europe gonna say, you're a little bit, they're a little bit salty about it, which I don't blame them. I absolutely don't blame them for being salty about it. It's kind of like kicking the face. It's like you've been with us all this time. Now you're leaving. Who? It's like who's your mistress? Like, I think if you had people who could see the usefulness, because you have to understand, people get in their own feelings, and that's a problem. Okay, people get in their own feelings. They don't think right. Let me think logically and business wise, and how this will be beneficial to both UK and Europe. And if you had level-headed people who weren't salty about what has happened, you might be able to come back. There would be a price to pay to get back in the EU, but we're already. And here's the thing: I'd love to see the UK go back in the EU. I absolutely would be like, yes, get the little European flags flying up, woo, Oh yeah, someone made some money. Some backhanders and all that was going on. You know it, and yeah, having a tough time finding a plumber now. Yeah, that was the least of our problems. So I think it could happen. Would it happen soon? Probably not, because you've got people in there. You've got the Conservative Party. Like, they're right. We're right. We're not going to admit we were wrong. Like humans do. In the EU would be like, sure, you can come back for a price. And so I don't know. I don't foresee it. I think it should happen. I don't know if it would. I don't. Again, EU may be like, we're done with y'all. Y'all made a mockery of us. Goodbye. Together. Yeah, then that was better together. That was the campaign for staying in the EU, was better together. Yeah, exactly. There are several services we depend on immigrants and people who were EU citizens that worked here and then just left. Again, that took a big chunk of money that they were spending here. So here's the thing about being in the EU. Yes, we did pay a lot of fees, but the EU also gave grants to hospitals in the UK all the time. Hospitals got grants. There were grants for arts programs. There were grants for hospitals. There were grants for research and development from the EU. So yes, you paid into it, but you got something back for your money. Probably more valuable than what you paid in. And that was the care of your people. No. You wanted to they probably put their money in their pocket. I'm telling you, them politicians took all that money and put it in their pocket. And they also built it on fear of immigrants, fear of people who are different, fear of, oh, they're going to come and take my job. Sorry, Steve. That man's coming over here to take my job. That man's a doctor. He's not coming over here to stock shelves at the Tesco, sir. He's qualified to be a doctor. Do you know what I mean? They're like, they're going to take our jobs. What, the jobs you don't want to do? Yeah, they're going to be lining up. I mean, what are you talking about? That is the most dumbest thing I ever heard. And that was a big part of that campaign. And at the same time, we still had our own currency. While in the EU, we still had the pound. We never used the euro. We still have the pound. What's the problem? What's the problem, bub? I don't understand. We were still able to use we were one of the only countries in the EU that was still allowed to use their own currency. So we weren't on the euro. It boils my beans, y'all. It really does. I get real heated about it. And the campaign for the slogan, so the campaign slogan for the Brexit Party was make Britain great again. Oh yeah, you didn't know that? Oh yeah, sound familiar? Sound a little bit familiar to you. But the problem is, it was already in the name. Great Britain. It was already there. It was already the name. Wow, make it Great Britain. I don't understand what you talking about. But then honestly, watching the country that I live in struggle economically based on a campaign full of lies, I can assure you does not feel that great at all. There's nothing great about that. Watching people struggle, watching your economy flail, watching prime ministers one after the other screwing up, being replaced by another screw up, back and forth. It is the most unstable our country has been in a very long, probably since World War II. Honestly, probably since World War II. But worse than the 80s here. I wasn't here in the 80s, but I've heard the tales. I've heard this. I've heard the stories and how rough it was in the 80s. That's what this feels like. That's what it looks like to me. Do you know what I mean? And I'm lucky, but I still have a job in manufacturing. I'm very, very lucky that I still have that job and that we're even still manufacturing. But we have to be very competitive. We have to be different. We have to do things and find ways to save money to keep the company I work for alive, or it's going to go the way of everybody else. And I'm going to be unemployed. I mean, I soon get another job somewhere, but I am versed in a certain particular field, which isn't that big here anymore, textiles, which is all gone. Yeah, Thatcher. Oh, they pride themselves on being, oh, I'm like Thatcher. But no, you're not. No, you're not. You could never be Margaret Thatcher. Not that I thought she was great, but, in the end, she kind of lost the mind. Not, kind of lost the plot. But, you know, she, you know, she did, I guess, what she thought was right. But these people are just doing not what people think they should be doing, what they think people want. And they're so out of touch. These politicians are so out of touch. When you're the prime minister and your wife's a billionaire, you're going to be a little bit out of touch. Sorry, but you are. And both parties are. Even the Labor Party, who stands for the working man, they're full of shit too. I mean, if I'm being honest. So y'all, that's the long, tragic tale of Brexit. I hope you weren't too bored with it. I hope maybe you learned something. Hopefully I explained it well to you so you understand what's going on over here. It's just not the energy. Yes, that's a problem. It's just not the fact that the Ukraine is a situation in Ukraine. It's not just a pandemic. Brexit played a lot into that. And that's a lot of the reason why we are where we are right now in the UK. In a situation where people who work full-time, nurses who work full-time, are going to food banks. Absolutely outrageous. It's absolutely. And yeah, Catholics is the same there, but and you could just say, well, just general economy. And I'm like, yeah, well, it could be better if we'll never know now, will we? We're not part of the EU. That's my sad story ought to tell.
So are the politicians there now that you're 3 years out showing the goodness that has come out of Brexit?
Hell no. There's no goodness. Find me a good spot. Someone, I challenge you. I'll send you a free box of damn candy if you can find me the good one shining spot of Brexit. Guess what? I won't be sending you nothing because there's no shining spots.
Breathe, Dolores. Breathe.
But I think it's out of touch old men. Exactly.
There's a lot of that going around.
Yeah. In his slot. Yeah, I have to check that out. It's just, and I don't think a lot of people understood it or realized how serious it was when we left and how scary it was and how even now it's scary because no one knows what the future is going to hold if everybody keeps going to mainland Europe. And in the day, if you run the business, you kind of can't blame them. You can kind of see their point. which is sad because we do have in the UK. I'm not now, and I'm not pissing all over the UK. I like the UK. I love living here, but that was just such a shock to me when it happened. It was like, what? And it was so disappointing that people believed all this rhetoric that was not even true. And you can see it. You're like that, you run around. That's not true. It's like you're trying to put little tiny fires out when there's a big inferno over there. Just, oh yeah, someone's benefiting. It ain't us, honey. I'm telling you, all that Brexit money, all their fees went in someone's pocket right here. There's in their bank, on their mattress somewhere, because that money went somewhere. But the show didn't go where it was supposed to go. And I don't even think there was a lot of money to save, especially with the divorce bill. Yeah, we weren't, like I said, we weren't tying up our little bindle and going, we're leaving home now. Bye. That doesn't work that way. There's a whole lot of process to go. The trade, no one thought about the trade. No one thought, even big businessmen, people who run major grocery stores are going, Brexit's a shit show. Oh my God. Like, yeah. It is. But thanks for telling, stating the obvious, sir. So, woo. So sorry if I got a little heated, y'all. Everyone's calling people twats, but they are. And I'm okay with that. I've accepted that about myself. And thank you guys for stopping by. I have to check that out. Oh, God, Congressman. But thanks for stopping by. It was good to be back. I'm glad I got a story well, it's not really a story. It's actually a sad, true story. I'm glad I got to explain Brexit to you. I've been wanting to for a while, and I thought this would be the perfect way to get back into the UK. Tell you about Brexit. And thanks everybody for stopping by. Don't forget, next time we will be on Daniel's channel. We're not sure what day that is. We'll let you know.
Sometime next week.
Yeah, there you go. Sometime next week.
Dolores and I will have to talk, and then we'll get back with you. Y'all seen it today, so just look for social media. I even used YouTube's thing today.
Oh, look at you.
I was so proud of myself.
I'm so proud of you too. Oh, I'm glad you enjoyed it, Monica. I'm glad, and I was against Monica's from Mexico. So she's like, I'm sure she was like, what are these people doing over there in England? What the hell's going on?
Well, it's interesting to learn. I mean, like I said, I don't know anything about it. You hear about it, but then you get into your own things that are happening in your own country, and you don't really pay attention what's happening in other countries. That kind of ripple effect into all kinds of stuff.
Yes, Sandy, I got my fill of tamales. Thank you for asking. Boy, I had loads of them. I'll have to burn them all off now. Getting mad at Brexit will help me. No,
there you go.
I think it just burned off much calories just now. Anyway, guys. All right, guys. Thanks for stopping by. We're at the top of the hour. We will see you next time on Daniel's channel. And thanks for popping in. You guys take care. Daniel's channels are in the description of the video. If you're not following him already, y'all go ahead and do that. Y'all have a great day and take care. Bye.
Bye, guys.